think there is a plan in place that when people come into this country, we're going to have to do a more thorough job of knowing where they traveled, and if they traveled in any area that may have been affected, there has to be a secondary check, and possibly even taking their temperature as they come in so that we can find out if they are carriers. If they are carriers, even at Parkview Hospital here in Pueblo, Colorado, we are equipped to handle an issue if it happens. That's who we are. That's our country. We have to take it seriously. It really does endanger us, because how can we control people that are traveling all the way around the world and maybe they don't have a temperature as the person that is now in the intensive care? But we were able to secure him and to find out where he traveled. It's an issue that is going to plague us for some time, and other countries have done it well, and we want to make sure that we learn from other countries. But I'm confident in our country that we're going to address this and protect our citizens from such a virus.
Mr. Chieftain.
This is a serious issue for our country and indeed for the world. I believe it was reported yesterday, that the first case of Ebola has been now identified outside of Africa that has been transmitted. So we have a real challenge on us. When we look at the case that happened down in Texas, the quick answer to the question is no. I don't believe we are doing enough to be able to address it in terms of this country. The real threat that is there, the gentleman who unfortunately has contracted Ebola, it was not only the people on the plane that he was in contact with, when he went down to the hospital, the people that they are now in contact with, his family who went back out into public and they were in contact with other people, and they went out and were in contact with other people. We have no idea, once we allow this to start to move, how far-reaching it can be, but the impacts could indeed be devastating. I think that we need to be looking at real solutions in terms of countries to where Ebola is present, having access coming into this nation, and the connector flights that are going to be coming in. This is serious. This is about our families. I do question sending down 3,000 American military service personnel to be able to address Ebola. Our heart is with them, believe me. I think everyone in here, we've seen the devastation of that, and our heart are with the people down in Africa that are being impacted by this. But sending down American military personnel, we've sent more people down to fight Ebola than we have to address ISIL. So let's make sure that we're getting those priorities in place. We have the regimens in place. It's a great wake-up call when we're looking at every hospital. You better attend those meetings, and we better be addressing it.
Mr. Tapia?
Yeah, just to add to my statement, Ebola is not new to the United States. We've known about it. Very smart minds have been working. The serum that helped save lives came from the United States. I'm confident that the United States is the one, because of our brain power and our ability to define a problem and go after it. We are going to develop the serums that are probably going to be used worldwide. Now, that means both the CDC and the private companies need to work together to make sure that we get this out as soon as we can, because it is serious. It could affect us in any way. And once we have defined it, we need to act on it, and we need to make sure it doesn't spread in the United States.
Mr. Chieftain, you'll answer this question first. What do you think the answer is to deal with immigration reform?
You bet. You know, this is something that we've actually been advocating for over the period of time that I've had the privilege to be able to represent this district in Congress. Because I don't care where you were at on the immigration issue, We've got a broken system. When my guy, Ronald Reagan, was president, stepped up and they gave amnesty and said we were going to fix the border. And here we are now, facing real challenges, real young kids that I've met with here in Pueblo that were brought to this country not of their own accord, but are now feeling some of the impacts. I do not sit on the Judiciary Committee where we will see some of the bills coming out. I think that the House's version is going to be the preferable choice. When we look at what is labeled, and I think oftentimes for political gain, we'll hear people get hung up on a word. In terms of comprehensive, you and I are both business guys. When we got ready to build a building, we laid out a step-by-step plan to be able to achieve a goal. You're an engineer. I'm willing to bet during the process of an engineering project, once you were into it, you said if we made this adjustment, it would be better. That's what we're proposing out of the House of Representatives. I've taken back Colorado solutions that we heard here in Pueblo, that we heard over in Aspen, that we heard over in Glenwood out of Grand Junction, back to the Judiciary Committee. We've got to be able to secure our border. That is fundamental to this country. When we're talking about Ebola, when we're talking about threats of terrorism coming into this nation, we must be able to secure our border. Can we create a viable guest worker program? You and I grew up in a time when they had the PSARO program. Let's have something that's going to be able to work address some of the work needs that are in this country, but use those as the first two steps to be able to work off that step-by-step proposal which will yield the best result. Let's have Congress roll up their sleeves and actually tackle the problem.
Well, you're correct that I'm an engineer, and usually when I have a project, my main goal is to accomplish that project. We have seen too many times that we do more studies, and that applies to a lot of different things, and we never get a solution. Here is another case where immigration hasn't brought forward any solution. Yes, Ronald Reagan was willing to do something. We had a Senate that was willing to do something at one point. We had a House that was ready to do something, but together they have never come together. 6 months ago we had this issue about young kids being dropped on our doorstep. We read in the paper, finally Congress is going to do something about it. Finally, we have Republicans and Democrats talking about meaningful solutions. At the end of the day, there was a bill that was passed out of the House of Representatives that was dead on arrival. It had so many different amendments to it that it wouldn't have passed the Senate, and it surely wouldn't have passed to the President. We need to resolve this. The bill that was passed almost exclusively dealt with border securities. Okay, I get it. We need to secure our borders. I believe in that. But that's not addressing the overall issue of immigration. I have a young professional that was not born in this country, but was educated in this country. He wasn't one of the dreamers. He was before the dreamers. And then he went to college. He went to CU, got a degree in environmental design, went on to got a master's degree in architecture. But he's on the waiting list to actually see his application. His application comes up in 2018. This is a professional that could actually help us. But our system, and when we stall, we're not resolving the issue. Not with the kids that came over, not the people that are on the waiting list, not for the 11 million people that are here servicing our economy today.
Mr. Chieftain?
You bet. Actually, through the House of Representatives, to address the example that you just cited, we passed the STEM Act, science, technology, engineering, and math, to be able to move that forward. Here's part of the problem. Ms. Tapia, you've cited it, and I'll quote you, because you're quoting the administration. Dead on arrival. If you want to be able to work together, you've got to be able to work with us. You can't have it just your way. The president cannot just have it his way. You know, we've got three options. You understand the legislative process. You can take up a bill and you can pass it, or you can kill it. If you find something of redeeming value, you can amend it. Or if you're in the separate house, you can develop your own bill, pass it through, we'll go to conference, and we'll let it work. But unfortunately, out of this administration, with better than 350 pieces of legislation, 3 of our bills that are sitting on the doorstep of the United States Senate, we're hearing that they simply will not hear them. We need to be able to work together. Let's get a Senate that will work together, and we can move the ball forward.
This is one area that I'll agree with you, that the only way we can solve a problem is to talk together. Not everyone is right. In the 12 years that I was in the legislature, I worked with the Republican governor. I was in the minority party. I worked with the Democratic governor and a Republican House. And I was able to sit down with both sides. No, nobody gets all of what they want. It needs to be a compromise. But because our approval rate in Congress is at less than 10%, people are frustrated that absolutely nothing is going to get done. And if you want to continue it, you keep the same people in office.
Mr. Tapp, you'll answer this question first. Protection of water and preventing the upper Front Range in the states of Nevada and California from taking it is an issue that is important to both the Western Slope and southern Colorado. What will you do if elected to address this issue?
Well, thank you, Steve. And obviously, that's not a new issue to either one of us. It's not an issue new to me here in Pueblo, Colorado, and knowing about water and the importance of water rights. The guiding principle is that we do not want any water sent out of our basins. All of the districts in Grand Junction, in Durango, in Huerfano County, and in Alamosa County, they have compacts with surrounding states. They barely have enough money and water to be able to service the industry that they do. So we are very protective of our water, where it comes from and where it's going to, and the beneficial use that it brings to our state. There is an effort in terms of a roundtable being initiated that has other governors, other office holders, and coming up with some coordinated plan for long-term water usage. But in representing the 3rd Congressional District, I will always come down on the side of what's best for the 3rd Congressional District over any other interest that we might have calling on our water.
Mr. Chieftain?
You know, as I've already cited, the bill that I passed with bipartisan support through the House of Representatives, Protecting Our Water Rights Act, is a bill that the United States Senate needs to take up. We've got to be able to protect our water. It is literally the lifeblood of our state. We are the headwaters state here in Colorado. We can't afford to open up that compact. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm tired of buy and dry, to where we see our water going to be able to build Denver when we need to be able to build our communities. This is something that we're dedicated and something we are keeping a close eye on in terms of some of the proposals that we're seeing coming out of Denver. Do we need to be able to store more water here in Colorado? We do and we should, to be able to meet some of the growing needs of our state. But we need to be able to protect this 3rd Congressional District. It seems to escape some of the people in urban Colorado's attention. If they want to be able to have food on their kitchen table at night, we better have the farms